I remember praying, God, let me see the blessing of that day, of that moment. Pull back the scales of what it is, and let me see with spiritual eyes. Let me see with eternity as my focus, not this earthly focus that we get so into. Let me see. And he did.
Welcome to the Focal Flip Podcast. Every week we take a deep dive into the mystery and stigma behind mental health and explore real-life stories of struggle and triumph. We aim to educate and encourage others as we bring together a diverse group of guests. From the streets to sanctuaries, classrooms to boardrooms, mental health does not discriminate, neither do we. Prepare to laugh, prepare to cry, prepare to be changed. Let's get into it. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Focal Flip Podcast. It's me, Mike, your host, and today I have Miss Pat Morgan with me today. Hey. Yeah, Pat, how are you?
I'm fantastic.
Awesome. I'm really excited that you're here.
Yeah.
The thing that Pat and I were kind of talking about, we have a really nice network of friends and family here locally in this area, and one of the things that we realized is that there are quite a few folks that have to experience, unfortunately, grief. And Pat has a very amazing story on perspective and her experience and her spiritual walk with Christ real time through that moment. And that's why I'm really glad that she's on here, because today she said yes. Which is alone is tough to do, and speaking, but the message that you're putting out for people and the positivity and the hope that you're giving women as well and pointing people towards Christ is admirable. It's extremely admirable. So thank you. So in getting to this, tell me a little bit about yourself. Grief is where we're going to get to it, but can you kind of tell me about your family and kind of the upbringing and Ted kids and your...
Okay. Well, I am a mom of 3 amazing children, Tyler, Tanner, and Grace. I am a teacher, a retired teacher now. But
did you just retire?
I retired last year and actually came back to teach in a substitute situation, a long-term substitute situation in the same classroom that I was teaching in. So, I mean, that's how awesome. Cool is God?
He's pretty cool.
I mean, the exact same classroom. So God wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful little gift to be able to be back in the classroom. So, yeah, my last day was yesterday again. So,
we're going to check back in with her.
I had a dream. I retired, but I don't know.
We're going to check back in with her in the future, too.
Where are you now? But, yeah, teaching has always been a passion, and I feel like, the Lord has just really blessed me with some great experiences. And so, I have been walking grief since 2020, actually, since the diagnosis. And it's just one of those things that will always be a part of our story, but it doesn't define me or my children.
Oh, yeah.
So we choose.
I love that.
So, yeah.
Good for you. Hey, do you mind if we go ahead and start with 2020? Can we?
Well, can I say 2019 was amazing first?
Oh, 100%. See, this is why I'm not polished at anything.
Leading up to 2020.
Yeah.
I will say that I know, you had said, like, what was life like before diagnosis?
Yeah.
And, I would say, well, we were just this normal, everyday family, ups and downs of life. Sports family. Tanner, of course, played football. He was quarterback at Ryle and then was at Minnesota. Tyler played football, was a coach at Ryle, teacher, and Grace was softball. So we were a sports family, and so we spent a lot of time, in that. And 2019 was such a beautiful gift that at the time we didn't know, we were just having fun. Yeah. But, wow, God was so his favor was just flowing on the Morgan family that year. We got to do things that was just precious and such a blessing. And, Tanner's team did great that year. He was, just at the height of all breaking, all kinds of things when it comes to football. And, I'll never forget Ted's big smile when we were at Tampa Bay playing in that bowl game. I mean, that was in January. Little did we know pandemic was hitting soon after, and then cancer. But at that moment, what a treasure it will always be for our family, because that was actually our last family trip vacation together.
It was in 2019.
Was in 2019 when we went to Tampa Bay for that game, and it was truly amazing. Tyler's wife now was with us. Tanner's wife now, they were dating then, but we were all together. We were all together, so it was just really a special gift and unique, because my daughter's like, why did we even do all that? Why were there girlfriends with it?
Why did we even do all that?
Why were we all together? I'm like, because that's just God's blessing on us to give us that moment of all of us together.
Wow.
And on May 1st, the night before that, Ted came up and he was trying to say, you're having a late lunch. And it came out just this jargon, we heard you're having, and then it was just jumbled speech, sounds. And we're like, what? And tried to say it again. And Tyler goes, Dad, say you're having a late lunch. Ted could not say it. So he was getting ready to go walk. And I said, sit down. Something's going on. He sat down for a minute, and just like that, it's gone. He's fine. And so if we had not been there at that moment, if we had been at school doing our normal routine, we would not have seen that sign. I'm pretty convinced that we would not have had the time we did, because if you don't catch it,
it goes.
It goes. It's a very aggressive disease. So I'm thankful for that moment, and I'm thankful for that we were there. So I did. Ted, being the manly man that he is, I don't need a doctor. There's nothing wrong with me. That's
what we do.
I don't need to go to the doctor. I'm
sorry.
like, Ted, call your doctor. Just tell him what happened. So I'm on Google going slurred speech. So stroke was a son. Like a mini stroke or whatever. So I'm like showing him all this. So the next day, which was May 1st, he goes to the doctor. I wasn't allowed to go with him because no one's allowed in the hospital. So that was on a Saturday. So his doctor said, hey, go get a CT scan. That way we'll, be able to rule it out on Monday. You won't have to. So he goes in. He completely thought, I'm going in, I'm coming out, things are fine. He goes in, they see something, and they admit him. And then, they tell him he has a brain tumor. He's in a room alone. And the doctor comes in and, we see a mass on your brain. Him walking it alone. It was just that time. It was just that time of the world, And, he wasn't alone. God was with him. Mm-hmm. He wasn't alone. But I could not be there. So it was just tough.
I bet.
So he calls me, and the doctor's in there, and he says, Pat, they tell me they see a mass. I'm coming home tomorrow. And I'm like, okay, what can I do? He goes, no, I'm going to be home for Tyler's birthday. So he came home on May 3rd. He got home. It was Tyler's birthday, his 25th birthday. And then began what do we do next?
How did you receive that information when he found out?
It's kind of like it's a surreal type moment because it's like, nah, that can't be happening.
Like denial, maybe?
Yeah, like it's like, okay, well, maybe it is a mask, but it's going to be fine, And Ted was very positive focused, always. He just was. He could see like, oh, this is going to happen. Like he always could see this big picture. He just was like, oh, they're going to take it out and it's going to be fine. I researched glioblastoma, which, Ted didn't want to know anything. He didn't want the doctor. He wanted to stay focused on positive. And if he heard all the negative of the disease, he felt like it would bring doubt and unbelief that he could receive healing. And so he did not want
like it would drag him down.
Yeah, he didn't want to know. I needed to know what I was facing as his wife and caregiver.
Yeah.
So I started Googling this, and of course it's scary disease. And then I prayed a lot. You pray a lot. But we went and...
I can't even begin to imagine what those prayers are like at that point.
Yeah, just...
Right from the rip.
Yeah. I felt the Lord just guiding us through it. He did. He walked every single step, and I believe he picked Ted up and carried him. I know he did that. And I say this, I've got a dear friend walking this right now, and I said to her family, I said, for us it was really hard, obviously, because we're watching, this man, my husband, father, just the disease was just, coming and coming. But I also saw the Lord just pick him up and carry him when it got hard and it got like, okay, this is, Ted, I just know he was protected. And to know that, I'll never forget. God gave us 12 months. We went to football games. He had his surgery. Ted had a clear scan.
So was it May to May? Was that when it was?
Yes. So he had his surgery in May 12th. And then, of course, you've got recovery and all that.
Yeah.
But, and then he had to do radiation and he had to do the chemo. He had the standard care of treatment.
Yeah.
But, Ted was strong through all of it.
He seems like a really strong dude, though.
He was tired. He had some, side effects, but he dug in with his walk with Christ. Dug in, and he was like, he told his testimony. Anybody that would listen to Ted, he would say, don't wait like me. And I was a Christian. He goes, and I went to church. I did all of those things. I was a good man, good dad, did the things I was supposed to do, good husband, but I did not put Jesus first. I did not seek his face. I said a prayer, read the Bible every now and then, and went to church. But when he got this diagnosis, I got to know him. I'm looking at eternity.
Yeah, you give me chills.
I'm looking at eternity, and wow, it was pretty cool to watch the spiritual growth. And so his message was, don't wait, and he completely believed, I'm going to beat this thing, and that was the hard part for us.
Whew. Keep going.
That was the hard part. For all of us. But anyway, just that from May to May, the Big Ten decided to do football.
Yep.
We didn't know we were going to have football that year. And we were like, Personally, I was like, okay, we're dealing with cancer. It's
Oh, my
okay.
goodness.
It's okay if we don't have to go to football games, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
dealing with
I didn't
cancer.
even know Ted could go to football games. I was like, okay, this will be good. If we don't do football, that'll be okay because we got to focus on getting Ted through treatments. Big Ten decided we're gonna have football, and you know what Ted did?
I kind of do, but go.
He called Dr. Curry, who I love. Dr. Richard Curry was an amazing doctor for us. So he called him and he said, "Hey, I think I'm not gonna take my chemo for this month."
We know where this is going.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't recommend. I'm not recommending that. But of course, Dr. Curry was
That's
like,
how
well,
bad he wanted to go.
that's how bad he wanted.
That's how bad he wanted to go.
Yeah, and he
Tells you a lot about somebody.
Yeah, yeah. So he took mid October to mid November off from treatment, and we had great memories. We made amazing memories together.
I love that.
And traveled. Nebraska was the first. This is a cool story.
Let's hear it.
This is a cool story.
I love cool stories of where it's
The
at.
very first time Tanner went in as QB was in Nebraska. So the QB won because he was QB2 at that time. This was in 2018.
Okay.
Got hurt. So it was halftime. And we're, I'm getting texts, Pat, Tanner's going in. And our cousin happened to be there filming with ESPN. It was the coolest thing. It was the coolest thing.
I mean, God,
so Phil
moments you all
Malika
have.
was there. He's going, Pat, I think he's going in. Annexsted's hurt, And sure enough, Tanner goes in and plays amazing. Like he is hungry, ready.
I remember the hype afterwards. I think.
It was the coolest thing, and so that happened. Then the last place Ted watched Tanner play, Nebraska.
No way, was it really?
The last game that Ted was there watching him play was Nebraska.
None of this stuff is coincidental.
No, and. So, yeah.
That is wild.
Yeah. Now, granted, there's no fans there and there were cardboard people. It was a much different experience.
Yeah, that's the COVID. That was the COVID thing.
It was the COVID thing. I have a
thing.
picture of Ted, the Nebraska field here, and over here you got cardboard cutouts of people trying to. It was so crazy. But, I mean, it's just
there was all kinds of crazy stuff that went on there.
Cool. Connected, like Nebraska will always be special to me.
That's awesome.
Just the memories I had with Ted and
you have a lot of cool different connections. There's symbolistic connections, don't you?
Yes, I do. I do. Yeah, it's so many.
So what about? Tell me about for you with grief. I have to be. I lost my father, and my father was a rock to me, and I struggled with grief greatly, but didn't know that I was struggling with grief.
Oh, yeah.
And so can you just tell me about kind of your process of receiving this? There's a lot of ladies out there that just really help each other.
Right.
And they are just amazing with grief and grief counseling. Your story is super unique and I just wanted you to kind of touch on that.
Once we realized, through the whole thing, I am trying to balance everybody, and probably put myself on the back burner kind of. I just felt the Lord's strength through all of that. I did not do that in myself. That was the power of the Holy Spirit flowing through me because looking back, I'm like, I don't really know how I did that without breakdowns. And
we're going to bring you back for breakdowns.
Yeah.
Because I'm curious too, and so is everybody else that's listening and watching this at this moment. You know?
Yeah.
Keep going. I'm sorry.
So we're walking through it, and then we bought a house during this time. So we had lots of celebrations during the walk. Always in the back of my mind, though, it's like, where's this going? What's happening? Every scan, Ted had 3 clear scans. So praising Jesus for that. But along comes March, and the scans were not clear. The tumor was back. I started seeing little signs of Ted changing physically. So it started to affect the way he walked. So when we would walk, there was a little sound because he would drag his foot. So, there's triggers. And I used to think, people are just, come on.
Yeah.
It's real. Triggers are a thing. And until you've walked through something, you don't get it. And, that's a whole piece of empathy that I talk about sometimes, because it's hard to know until you're walking it.
That's so true. We talk about it all the time.
Yeah. Like it's hard to put yourself in that place. But now, now I obviously get it. So we go to the spring game, May 1st. Tyler went with me, thankfully. Ted's not driving at that time, so I'm driving. So my whole life has changed. Ted was always the leader. I was always, kind of in the background of it all, holding things together.
Yeah, you were.
But
we all know that.
But, he was my leader. And he couldn't lead anymore. So I had to drive. That was pretty difficult for Ted to give up, because obviously I never drove. He always did the driving. But that's when we noticed he couldn't see out of his left eye at all. He couldn't see. I've got a little video of him watching, and he couldn't see the differences. And there was a maroon team, gold team. He couldn't see Tanner. He was just trying to look at the Jumbotron. It was my first, and Tyler's first, whoa, this is
getting bad.
This is not good. So yeah, from May to July 12th was pretty tough. Gradual decline every day. Grieving him a little bit every day. So I remember I journaled a lot during that time.
Oh, did you?
I did. I have so many journals. And I've been reading through them recently, because I just, sometimes you forget all the things God did for you. And when you write it down, you can go back and go, oh, yeah, he was there. He was there. He was there. So I've been reading through them and just kind of looking back at how I was handling things. Because I've been trying to mentor people now going through grief and walking through grief, and things that I did and things I should have done,
Yeah.
But I did journal a lot, and I remember just crying out, God, please, just please.
Yeah.
Help, free us,
Just help
free
me.
us, just help. And, at that time, being a caregiver, it is tough. And, you just one day at a time. And you look, I remember praying, God, let me see the blessing of that day, of that moment. Pull back the scales of what it is, and let me see with spiritual eyes. Let me see with eternity as my focus, not this earthly focus that we get so into. Let me see. And he did. He let me see. And, we had so many people visiting, and Ted had high school buddies come. They'd sit out there and talk about, the good old days, and it was a blessing. It was a blessing. And I will say to your listeners, reach out to those people before, like Ted said, don't wait.
Yes.
His high school buddies, oh my gosh, how fun he had with them.
Yeah.
And then in my heart, I was like, why couldn't we had this when he was well? I had a little bit of not on us.
Yeah.
Why didn't we reach out and say, hey, let's get together? hey,
Yeah, hindsight's 2020, huh?
yeah. And we didn't see them every day. We lived 3 hours away. But what a blessing they were.
Yeah.
What a blessing they were to him at the end of his life. He had a Navy buddy come see him. And I mean, he loved this guy. And Murphy is what he called him, Murphy. And he and his wife came on July 7th. Ted died on July 12th. And, Murph told stories. And, the kids, the boys just listened, and I know Ted knew he was there. At that time, Ted was barely speaking. But it was just so
wholesome.
So cool. I just thought those last 2 weeks, any day now, it's coming. And we kept praying for the miracle, We kept praying, we kept hoping. And I remember this was, I don't know, a few days before Ted passed. And, they were having fundraisers for us. And Ted would muster up enough to say thank you because it meant so much that people were rallying around us in this community. I mean, what a wonderful community of just people pouring into us as our family. He said, I remember putting my hand on his face, and everybody had gone, and it was just us in the bedroom. And I said, I am so sorry you're sick. I mean, I'm so sorry. And he said, I'm not sick. God's got this. I mean, with such authority. And I'm like, okay, all righty.
Positive.
Those were the last words he said to me.
That was it.
That was the last words he said to me. God's got this. And that's what I said. I just feel like the Lord just wrapped him up, And
that man was completely transformed and changed spiritually with growth.
Spiritual healing, so much healing he received. His heart, he just loved the Lord so much. And as he walked it, he was just covered in God's grace and God's love. And so us being able to watch that, and Tanner and Tyler and Grace will all tell you the same, we watched a miracle happen with Ted. We did. A spiritual miracle. We watched it.
Yeah,
a healing that, just a beautiful healing. And when he passed, then became the work for me. Because up until that point, I was holding him up and I was believing, And when he passed, I had a choice to make. And I did have some counseling. Counselor said, well, you need to take 90 days. You need to take 90 days off of work. You need to just grieve. If you want to sit and cry, sit and cry. If you want to, whatever you want to do. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, I can't do that. I have 3 kids that have. Do you know, we buried Ted on July 16th. That was on a Friday.
Okay.
On Saturday, Tanner was on the football field in Minnesota, lacing up his cleats, getting ready to lead his team. Yeah.
I don't think I realized it was
so
that.
I'm like, if my kids, Grace is going into her senior year. My kids have to go back.
Player.
Tyler, Tyler, Tyler's going back to coaching. That was football season's going. Dead period's over. It all happened during the time dead period was on us. Football's over.
In July. 2 weeks.
And then okay, it's time to go. We got to get at it, And I'm like, I can't quit. I can't stop. So I go back to work in August and I'm trying to teach and grieving and life is weird. And in my mind, I think, oh yeah, I'll get back to normal. I'll go back to work. The kids will help me. They did, seeing my friends, but everybody is different.
Okay.
They look at you with this, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, okay. I can see that.
I don't really know.
Because they're not sure how to comfort.
They don't know.
Or confront, or how do I initiate conversation?
Yeah, they don't know what to say to me.
Interesting.
They don't know what to say. And so some people tried, but mostly I'm just like, listen, let's just pretend that things are okay. And my friend and my friend Lauren Wingrove and I,
Come on, Pat.
we always had, I'm fine. Everything's fine. It's fine.
It's mine and Samantha's joke too. Like there'll be something chaotic going, and we'll be like, "It's fine. Everything's fine. It's fine."
That's kind of what we did.
That's what we do.
And so I made it through that year. I had weddings that year, 2 weddings, a football season. I mean, I could not break down. I had
You didn't have time to break down.
I didn't have time to break down. I had to be strong. And, people will say, oh my gosh, you're so strong. And I'm like, please. No, I'm not. I'm not strong. I am strong through God's strength. Mm-hmm. I am strong. And here was the key to my grief, walking through. And I'm still walking it because I have 2 beautiful grandbabies right now. And what I wouldn't give for Ted to be able to hold and it be Nana and Papa, and Ted to be here. Mm. So there's still always that little bit of, this is what it should look like, but this is not what it looks like. There's always going to be that. But I always go back to keeping my perspective on the blessings that the Lord has given me, and Philippians 4:8 is one of my favorite scriptures, and it's basically you think on the good. Your mind can go a lot of places, but if you keep it focused on what God has given you, that's good. And yes, it hurts to not have Ted here. It's painful to have walked that walk. But my hope is in him. Ted's good.
Yeah, he's good.
He's
good. He clearly spiritually, man. He
has made it.
Physically, declining, and then spiritually just launching.
Yes. And so here we have a purpose. We have a purpose, and we got to keep going toward our purpose. And I remember going to those football games. That was the toughest part. I know you asked me, what was football like without Ted being there with me?
Yeah. That was one of my questions.
That was one of your questions. And I thought about that, and I'm like, I was surrounded by so much love from the people in Minnesota and the players' families and awesome. And my family. I always had somebody traveling with me that first year.
Yeah. That's good. Buddy system. Can't be alone.
Yeah.
Can't be alone. Yeah.
No, we're not created to be alone.
We're not.
We are not created to walk life alone.
I'm so glad you said that.
We are not. And that's, walking grief. So I'm a grief group dropout.
Explain. Let's hear it.
I went 3 times, and and my beautiful friend led it, and she was like, Pat, you need to come. She lost her husband to cancer, same kind of story. I tried. But for me, so everybody's walk through grief is individualized, and God has a way of walking it with us, but there is someone there for you. You just got to see that person, and it may be a counselor that you reach out to, or it may be a person at the airport that just happened to want to hear your story. I met someone at the airport. First time I went to the airport alone. Ted and I didn't fly. We usually drove, which was, why do we do that? Because flying there is amazing. First time I had to do it, I'm sitting in the airport. I'm, thinking, God, please just help me. Help me. What is happening? I'm not supposed to be here. This is not what this is supposed to look like. Why do I have to do this? And I met a friend beside of me, and we just start conversation. And so I tell her the story. I'm going to watch Gophers, blah, blah, blah. I tell her the whole story. It helps to talk. It really does help to tell the story. A lot of people want to just guard it, but to be able to tell it, we're created to tell our story. That's why we have them, And then I get on the plane, I sit down, and John Gordon tweets. I love John Gordon. John Gordon tweets out, going to watch one of my favorites, Golden Gophers. I'm like, really? Hey, I'm going to watch Golden Gophers, He doesn't know who I am, whatever. So I'm going, PJ Fleck said to me, Pat, whatever you need, just let me know. I'm here for you. Just let me know. And I'm like, hey, PJ, how can I meet John Gordon? He is done. So I get to go on the field the first time I go to a game without Ted.
I'm so jealous.
I'm on the field probably about 25 minutes talking to John Gordon.
I love it.
What a great conversation. I mean, it was so cool. But little things like that happened every single game. It's just seeing it, seeing the blessings within the hard. And it's hard.
That's hard.
Being in the hotel room alone. I was alone. Being in a hotel alone with all my thoughts. Hard. So I had to have my focus on the Lord and just read scripture. One of the things that got me through was just opening, the Word of God it says the living Word of God. Yeah. It is life. Mm-hmm. It is. And you can read the same scripture, one day and then go back to it and it'll speak something completely differently to you. Yeah, next day.
I'm with you.
It's the coolest thing. And people don't get it. I mean, Ted will say that. I didn't read my Bible. I didn't open the Bible.
Yeah.
But once he knew, he had to I got to get it,
It opens you up the more that you...
It was just, all the scriptures he wrote down. And, he would journal a lot through his experience too. And now we have that. And, I go back and read it a lot. Yeah. And so Ted passed on a Monday.
Yeah.
So Mondays were horrible. And I started counting Mondays.
Okay.
And journaling. This is the first Monday, 1 week. I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to. I don't even know.
You're spiritually sick.
Spiritually sick. I'm just
shell of yourself.
Numb, and just what just happened? So all of it. The whole 14 months of just...
Yeah. That's a lot. That's a whole lot.
Just came. And I'm still... we were in Kansas City at a softball tournament. The first Monday, we were in Kansas City at a softball tournament. And I'm just like, what is happening? What is going on? Monday number 2. And then I keep... I started then I started on Facebook and this is Monday number 3, and I would write what the Lord gave me on that Monday. And so then people started saying, oh my gosh, I wait for Monday to see what God has revealed to you. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go 20 Mondays. So it became a thing,
You're a focal flipper.
I like that. Focal flipper. You need a shirt. Be a focal flipper.
Yeah, I think we just started that. Did we just create that?
I think we
keep going.
Be a focal flipper, people. Come on. Yeah. So first started, awesome. I'm going to make it to 20 Mondays. So, every Monday I need to go back and like
That
print
is
them all
so
off.
awesome.
I really
did
need
not
to go.
know this. You're a little competitor at heart, huh?
I guess. I don't know.
You are.
Okay.
It's true. You're a competitor internally,
So then
too.
it became,
What a way
I
to
did it for
flip
52
everything
Mondays.
around.
52 Mondays. 52 Mondays.
That's so neat.
Yeah. And,
So tell me about what happens on your Mondays after 52 weeks of Monday perspective sharing.
Talk about a flipped
Are Mondays
script.
tough?
No. I have so many great things that has happened on Monday.
I know, right?
So many wonderful things.
That's what I'm taking away right now. I know you are. I can feel it. I'm like, yeah, definitely.
I got engaged on a Monday, and my fiance had no idea. I'm like, Mark, it's Monday. He didn't know. It just happened to be, the date, his birthday. He wanted to, in his mind, kind of. He didn't know. And I'm like reflecting back. I'm writing, in my journal that night, and I'm like, wait, this is Monday. Praise Jesus.
Wow.
For
Shout
new
out
beginnings.
Mark and Mondays, man.
New beginnings, right?
Yeah. Now, so you're engaged, your fiance, Mark.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's awesome.
God does amazing things.
He
Well,
is.
congratulations on that whole thing.
Thank you. Yeah, it's all God. It's all Him.
No, I'm grateful for you sharing that, your story with that and your faith in Christ, because it's everybody is facing something,
Right.
and grief comes in so many different forms, and it can be extremely debilitating.
Mm-hmm.
It leads to isolation, which leads to some really, really bad illness with it too.
Right.
Spiritually sick. So I'm grateful for you coming on to share that, and then to share that experience, strength, and hope. But not only that, the fact that you're pouring it in, and that you're strategic with every single thing you do now.
Yeah.
At least it seems like that, because He's laid that on you.
Yeah.
Does it seem to be?
Yeah.
And you're just saying yes and going, and then He unfolds it for you, and more will be revealed.
I think that's the way I'm living. Like, what's next, God? I can't wait.
Yeah.
I can't wait, because there's just so many things that He's just doing. I do this little program with the class called Thankful and Thriving. And that started that year of walking grief. I had a student also walking through some trauma. And honestly, that's what got me up in the mornings. That's what got me to school that first year. I think my principal knew that I needed that.
Yeah, because it was making you healthier and you were helping them.
Yes, because in my mind, I said, I have to get up because he needs me. The student needs me there. And I would get up and I would go. And I remember one morning I was praying, God, I just don't know if I can do this. And that little boy brought me this painted rock. And it had this bluest color. Back then that's when painted rocks was a thing. And he had a sign on it. And I prayed, God, give me a sign. I'm a big thing of show me the signs, Lord. I need to see.
I did that forever.
So many great signs God has shown me. But he walks with this rock, lays it on my desk, just in case you needed one. And there's this little A sign. It's the coolest thing. The coolest thing. So yeah, God, knew I needed that. And so then we started this little thing at school called Thankful and Thriving. And, it's just become part of who I am really in my next journey of, what are you thankful for? Talking about your gratitude.
It's huge.
It's huge. And on top of that, how do you thrive? Who helps you thrive? You're not made to just survive. You are created by the good Lord to thrive.
Preach.
And we are like connected. All these connections is how we thrive, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right?
I couldn't agree with you more. We line up so well. That's it. That's my whole thing. Before we go, I just spoke this morning with a group and talked about, this is like I picture a stick, and I have one stick like this. And when I'm isolated and by myself and I'm trapped in just my thoughts, it breaks that easily. But when I add 7, 8, 9, 10 sticks in that cord, man, it's a lot harder to break.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Your support. You have to have a support team. And you might feel alone, but you're not. You're not. You just have to open yourself up to the people that God has lined up for you.
Y'all, what I can tell you is there's so many stories within the stories. That's why we have to have her back, because our cameras are get too hot and we're going to stop. They've already stopped on us and we fixed it.
I have a lot of stories.
We do. There's so many incredible stories. There's so many symbolic type things with her spiritual walk and her journey, her life with her family. Her fiance,
one
the
more
rain thing. There's a lot more stuff we want to do eventually.
Yeah, the rain. Yeah,
we'll get to the rain. We're going to throw a clip up at the end of this video to show you a very, very moving piece on rain with Ted and Miss Pat's story and Tanner and PJ Fleck in Minnesota and the symbolism of rain and what it represents for them.
That was an amazing moment for sure.
I'll tell you right now, if you're going through things in your life, no matter what it is, people are going through that. It can be scary to let it out, but I'm telling you, once you do, it's awesome. You have no power over you. You realize that you connect with everyone. Right. You can find a way to connect with everyone. I heard some of what Miss Pat said too, and going back and finding the similarities, go and find the good things that are in it. Go find the good, take away the good. And that's what we like to teach too, in changing and shifting perspectives. The positivity, there's a reason why, she follows John Gordon, why John Gordon stuff, why these things work. Okay. And it's all with that mind. With that mind, you're able to learn and go through grieving processes and such. And in return, you get to receive grace, spirituality. It's an incredible walk. Yeah. And so thank you for committing to do that. I've taken away a ton from this. Where can people get a hold of you and see what you're doing and stuff? Because Thankful and Thriving. Okay, I'm following Thankful and Thriving. Clearly,
well, you'll see a lot of cute kids.
I love kids.
If you go to YouTube and look at subscribe. That'd be cool.
Okay, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's just the kids at school. They interview. It's been really cool to see.
I am diving.
They interview, role models and people that we look up to, and Tanner's on there.
I'm 100% in with Thankful and Thriving. Anything you and your family, your squad needs from us, we're here. We'll promote it. We'll pump it.
Cool.
Yeah, and we just want to focus on hey, guys, just normalize getting help, normalize getting treatment, be okay. Go to church. Go to AA, go to counselors, therapists. Nothing will change until you start to get it out. Right. So, final words?
Well,
we talked a lot.
I
know.
I think I've had a lot of words already.
All right, we'll start writing the outline for the next one, y'all. So I'll say hit like, hit subscribe, hit swipe. And I don't see it. Like I said, I'm old. I don't know how to do all this stuff. Swipe like.
Yeah, I don't
subscribe, follow.
We're learning.
Thanks a lot, Pat.
Continue to grow.
That's right. We're out.
Tonight from Phoenix, Arizona, where, yes, it's still raining, and we have a roof here.
We're in Arizona. We're in the middle of a desert. We didn't see a cloud all week. We're sitting in the tunnel getting ready to come out. Probably the hardest rain I've ever seen in my entire life. Pouring in. Tanner's always in front, and you just knew what that meant to him.
For the biggest moments in Tanner Morgan's life, his dad Ted was always there, his first coach, who introduced the 23-year-old quarterback to the game.
He'd be the first one to build me up, encourage me to just continue to keep going and to have grit. He definitely was my biggest fan.
He was there and present, and that was a blessing that he was able to do that.
Before he was a football dad, Ted Morgan was a military man who served in the U.S. Navy.
Ted loved the water. I think if he hadn't met me, he would have probably lived near the beach somewhere.
Ted was there in 2017 when Tanner got a call from PJ Fleck, asking the recruit to decommit from Western Michigan and follow him to Minnesota. Then Ted followed Tanner traveling to almost every Gopher football game.
Ted was the dad of the team, and he wasn't just the dad of Tanner. Everybody on the team loved Ted.
When we beat Penn State in 2019, and he was very joyous about that, and he actually ended up doing like an interview with Ryle.
So how do you think your son Tanner played today in one of the biggest games of his career, Dad?
I think the team played outstanding. I think he played for the Lord, and I think they were blessed.
If there was one person that could find his way to be interviewed, it was Ted.
Then, in the spring of 2020, the Morgan family started to notice some subtle slurring in Ted's speech. Scans would reveal glioblastoma, an aggressive form of brain cancer.
He was like, we're just going to fight it. He would always say, Pat, you can't doubt. Don't doubt. Don't show disbelief.
Oh, that was good.
It almost didn't feel real that this is something that my dad was having to go through. I couldn't really believe it.
Despite the disease, Ted still made it to most of Tanner's games in 2020. But by May of 2021, his condition was much worse.
Love you. Love you.
One morning, his wife Pat was journaling through her grief when a storm outside brought her peace inside.
I just felt the rain was washing away fear and the anxiety. I just felt something different after that day. And in my journal, I wrote about how I was at peace and I knew that Ted was okay. The rain just then became a symbol to me.
On July 12th, 2021, 14 months after his diagnosis, Ted Morgan passed away at the age of 58. At his funeral, naval officers honored their fellow sailor.
The sun was out, everything was beautiful, it was a beautiful day. And then the first note of taps, rain. I mean, it was not just a sprinkle, it was a downpour of rain.
It was just kind of one of those things that looked like it would be in a movie. I just remember watching it and just being like, wow.
The day after his father's service, Tanner went back to Minnesota to prepare for the upcoming season. That fall, the Golden Gophers went 8-4 and earned a trip to the Guaranteed Rate Bowl game in Phoenix, Arizona.
When we walked out, I felt something. I looked up and it was raindrops, and I couldn't help but laugh. I was like, okay. It was kind of a reassurance that my dad was definitely watching and was there in spirit.
18-6, the final score, Minnesota with the win.
Almost a year after Tanner's family lost one Morgan, they gained another. At a ceremony in Virginia, made even more moving by a sign from the sky.
I remember it being like a perfect light rain right before the ceremony. A beautiful way to smile and think about how my dad was there in that moment and watching his son get married to the woman that he loves.
There's a peace in believing those lost never really leave, that they are still here, still showing up, sharing these moments, showering us in love.
Thankfulness of the moments that I got to spend with him. And he's in a much better place now, but he's always still here with me.
Okay, you ready to wrap this thing up?
If you like Focal Flips videos, my dad's videos, go to YouTube, Spotify, and Apple, and like and subscribe to be updated.
I love it.